Chrystia Freeland announcing today a hike in capital gains tax says this won't affect the middle class. Who will this affect, though? Perhaps your employer, perhaps your ability to keep a job, and perhaps your doctor that's already been considering leaving Canada. This from Global News. Liberals introduce capital gains tax changes. Here's what to know. Now, she gives a whole speech, and I'll leave a link in the description. You can go watch this for yourself, where she explains who's not going to be affected by all these things. It's all the unintended consequences of these bills that is actually the problem with a lot of this stuff. Capital gains taxes are the proceeds from the sale of an asset like a stock or an investment property. Currently, all capital gains comes with an inclusion rate of 50%, meaning half of the profits realized from the sale are added to taxable income in that year. Under the Liberals' proposed changes, that inclusion rate would rise to 67% on any gains realized above the $250,000 annually for individuals. That 2/3 inclusion rate would apply to all such gains made by corporations and many trusts. Perhaps your business that you work at and are employed by, a lot of these places would be affected by this. But the big concern would be people who have shielded themselves from other taxes that the Liberals have brought in, and even other governments beforehand, and had to shield themselves from this because of the way the business runs, like doctors. And doctors largely are going to be hit with this one. And as if there's not enough reason for doctors to want to leave the country. But here's Global News' take on this here.
Today, I'm going to talk about taxes.
And Chrystia Freeland did, repeating the budget commitment to raise more than $19 billion over 5 years by boosting the capital gains taxes. She says only a small number of wealthy Canadians, maybe 40,000 or so, pay when they sell an investment. The tax hike could have been in the budget bill, but the Liberals carved it out for separate legislative treatment beginning Monday in the House of Commons in the hope of scoring some political points against their chief rivals, the Conservatives.
This week will be an important political moment for our democracy. It will be a moment when Canadians will be able to see what each one of their members of Parliament believes in and stands for.
Absolutely. They will be able to see that. They have been seeing that for some time now. It wasn't included in the budget because there was the fears that the budget wouldn't pass. Now, if the budget didn't pass, it is one of those types of bills that happens occasionally. It happens every year. They have to pass the budget. But if it doesn't pass, it was one of these ones that could have triggered an election. So yeah, they largely left that out for that reason. And they want to paint Pierre Poilievre as a guy who stands with corporate donors, that kind of thing. Obviously, a lot of corporate donors are going towards Pierre Poilievre, but that is more just a sign that they know who's going to be next in government, less than who's actually all for the corporate thing. I think every government official is going to have corporations lobbying them like crazy. Pierre Poilievre obviously showing himself to be a friend of the blue collars. We'll see if that ends up becoming true. But this is about Chrystia Freeland and her announcement today. Now, Kirk Lubimov on Twitter, he put this out there. Canada's Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, in support of Liberals' new capital gains tax, goes on an incredibly inappropriate classist rant and ends with a threat. And he gives a quote here, but I'll let this play out first before reading the rest of the tweet, because this is off-putting.
But I would also like to ask Canada's 1%. In fact, Canada's 0.13% to consider this. What kind of a Canada do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a country where kids go to school hungry? Do you want to live in a country where a teenage girl gets pregnant just because she doesn't have the money to buy birth control? Do you want to live in a country where the only young Canadians who can buy their own homes are those with parents who can help with the down payment? Do you want to live in a country where we make the investments we need in healthcare, in housing,
Before she continues, I just want to put a thing there, a little caveat. It's only after 8 years or 9 years now of this liberal government where they're saying, even themselves, they're saying that people can't even just pay for the necessities of life, the basic things that they need to survive in Canada. After 9 years of the liberal government, they're not able to afford these things. Anyway, I'll let her finish her message here.
Old age pensions, but we lack the political will to pay for them and choose instead to pass a ballooning debt onto our children. Do you want to live in a country where those at the very top live lives of luxury, but must do so in gated communities behind ever higher fences, using private health care and airplanes? Because the public sphere is so degraded and the wrath of the vast majority of their less privileged compatriots burns so hot.
Wow, I don't even know what to say to that. It's just disgusting. But Kirk Lubimov gives his 2 cents here. What she's saying is if doctors and entrepreneurs don't give her more money, more of their money to mismanage, they won't be able to go anywhere in public and face risk of violence. So they give us more money to mismanage. It's after 9 years of them mismanaging all of this stuff. It's her government that does that degraded the public sphere. This tax will generate less than what was an increase in our public debt service charges have been because of her fiscally reckless government. We have billions missing and mismanaged in various endeavors like the Green Fund, the Infrastructure Fund, and they don't seem to care for all the squandered dollars on various projects like ArriveCan. It's amazing that they're just pushing and want more of this money. She doesn't want to fix any of the fiscal mismanagement in her government to make sure taxpayer dollars are going to the services they're paying for. She just wants more money and threatens violence if not. Listen very carefully to what she's saying here. Absolutely. That's how it sounds. That's how it came off to me. Now, this is an interesting thing. As governments increase taxes, there's a concept called the Laffer Curve, where they're actually going to pull in much less revenue over time because they end up trying to pull it more and more from people, and people will check out. They'll find different ways to avoid these taxes, i.e. going to the Cayman Islands. If you listen to financial reports in recent times, they're talking about, take your money, put it into a corporation in the Cayman Islands, and then you'll be able to avoid a lot of this stuff. So here's a perfect illustration of this. This is from Common Sense Soapbox on YouTube. I'll leave a clip. I'm going to show a clip of this, but I'll leave a link in the description so you can watch the whole video for yourself.
I am not looking forward to taxes going back up.
But weren't you just complaining about the national debt? Ow!
Well, yeah, but Trump's tax cuts led to a revenue increase. The deficit only went up because spending outpaced growth.
A revenue increase? How is that possible?
So if the government taxes at 0%, its revenue will be 0%. If it taxes at 100%, its revenue will also be 0% because no one's going to work for money they can't have.
Exactly.
At some point, higher taxes mean less productivity, so cutting them can result in an increase in revenue. This concept is often referred to as the Laffer Curve.
The Laffer Curve? Isn't that just neoliberal voodoo that some guy wrote on a napkin in the 80s?
No, it's much older than that. As early as 1381, Ibn Khaldun observed that at the beginning of a dynasty, taxation yields a large revenue from small assessments. At the end of the dynasty, taxation yields a small revenue from large assessments.
Absolutely true. And I'll leave a link in the description down below. You can check it out. Watch the whole video. But let's hear what Chrystia Freeland herself has to say. Oh, pardon me. No, that's Hugo Chavez ruining his economy. My bad. Chrystia Freeland has asked a question from a reporter. And, first of all, thank you for your question. Let me begin by... No, okay, enough of the memes. Let's get into this. Govt.exe is corrupt on X. Says, watch, Chrystia Freeland, a WEF agent and trader, says she wants to make life more affordable for Canadians by hiking taxes. She also wrote a book called Plutocrats: Rise of the New Global Super Rich and the Fall of Everyone Else. That's true. She actually wrote that book. I didn't know she was a cheerleader for it at the time of writing it, but it sounds like that's what the book is all about and her MO. Anyway, but let's listen to this.
And you said before that you were not targeting this particular motion at making the Conservatives sort of take a side, but you also, even earlier today, you talked about this as not being a partisan issue. So how come you're suggesting that this is not actually going after the Conservatives to force them to take a position by making this a standalone Ways and Means motion?
Again, back to the concept of not putting this in the budget because they wanted to make this a standalone thing so they can play partisan politics. It's a political game.
Thank you for the question. It's not unusual for a major tax measure like this one to be put forward in standalone legislation. That's quite ordinary practice. And I do think it's an important political moment for Canada and for Canadians. We do think this is an important time for our country. It's an important time because we need investments, and it's an important time for us all to take a stand on how we feel those investments should be financed. And as I said in my opening remarks, I do think this is a moment when Canadians should be watching closely what happens in the House and watching closely to see how all MPs vote on this, I would say, defining measure.
It would seem that she doesn't want investments to be private investments in Canada because, well, she's chasing out everyone else who absolutely would like to invest in Canada. And here's Spencer Fernando giving his 2 cents on the subject at hand here.
Canada's worst finance minister, Freeland, appears to have forgotten the Liberals have been in power for nearly 9 years. In an effort to sell her class warfare capital gains tax hike, Freeland painted a dystopian future vision of a Canada where kids go hungry, young Canadians can't afford homes, and where good healthcare and security are only available for those with tons of money. But here's the thing. That's not a dystopian future vision of Canada. That's the crumbling Canada of today. Young Canadians can't afford homes now. Food bank usage is surging now. The healthcare system is falling apart now, and crime is rising now. And all because of the Liberals and the NDP. Freeland simply doesn't have what it takes to be finance minister, just like Justin Trudeau doesn't have what it takes to be prime minister. They're making this country worse every single day. And like all pathetic socialist failures, the more they fail, the more they blame others. So now, they're trying to scapegoat Canadian doctors, entrepreneurs, and investors. Freeland, Trudeau, and other clowns like Jagmeet Singh are trying to fool you into directing your anger towards your fellow Canadians, rather than towards Liberal NDP politicians that are betraying you. The capital gains tax hike will only push more successful people out of our country, leaving us with less revenue and less growth overall. Canada will be even poorer. Class warfare is the last thing Canada needs. Instead, Canada needs a new government that stops betraying the Canadian people.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more here with Spencer Fernando. I'll leave a link to all of these things in the description down below. Check them out. Please go share them out with all the other people that want to check out these things. But I'd love to hear what you have to say on this subject. So leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the capital gains tax. Obviously, this probably won't be affecting most of the people directly in the community, but let me know if perhaps your doctor will be leaving the country. Perhaps you're the person who runs your business. Perhaps maybe they're just making a tiny margin, barely able to keep the employees that they have now. Things won't be so much better when the capital gains tax comes to pass in this way. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.